Hey guys, this is Cry4 and today I'm gonna bring you a video to showcase all the different tricks, exploits, glitches, whatever you want to call them, for speedrunning Darkest Dungeon. I know this video has been requested for a very long time, but yeah, finally I got around to do it, so yeah. Big disclaimer before we start with everything. Since there are always people saying, oh, there are spoilers or whatever. Yes, of course, we are speedrunning. This video will contain spoilers, as well as just a suggestion from me. If you are new to the game in general, not like speedrunning it, but playing it casually, I highly suggest you stop watching the video here and do your first playthrough without knowing glitches and exploits and stuff. So yeah, you get the real Darkest Dungeon experience, because using those glitches trivializes many aspects of the game. And yeah, I basically want everybody to have an unbiased first playthrough, I guess. So there's that, and yeah, let's get into it, shall we? Alright, the first trick, which is basically our bread and butter, is the so-called Scardycat. Let's go to our tutorials here. Alright, so what does the Scardycat trick actually do? It progresses the game forward by a week, triggering all stress relief actions, purging of quirks or diseases in the hamlet, as well as re-rolling the stagecoach. And the quests you get presented with will be re-rolled as well as quest rewards. And yeah, that's about it. So how does it work? We are here in a save file, basically immediately after the first tutorial mission, the Old Road. As you can see, not all the buildings are unlocked. And so how does it work? Basically the game works that way. If you finish a dungeon, you will progress the weeks by 1. If you abandon a dungeon or retreat, usually that doesn't advance the weeks. But we found out that sending one guy to the Darkest Dungeon and immediately retreating from it when you come back to the hamlet, you will actually have advanced the game by a week. So we use this primarily for, as I said earlier, purging diseases and negative quirks, de-stressing if we need that really, as well as re-rolling the stagecoach, since especially in longer runs, like any percent, we want a very specific party composition, and so we usually re-roll the stagecoach a bunch of times in the start of these runs. So as you can see, we are now on week 2, and oh, suddenly the tavern and the abbey are open. And the stagecoach has different people in it. So yeah, that's basically all there is really to it. In regards to what runs this is used in, it's basically almost all the categories. Usually in Necromancer percent, we usually don't need it or use it, but even there sometimes it can be useful if you, for example, get only presented with medium-sized missions when you need a short one. we will reroll those sometimes in Necromancer Present. But other than that, almost all the other runs use it. So this is basically our bread and butter when it comes to the tricks we use. All right. Okay, so time travel. This trick works in a very similar fashion to the Scardycat trick, but it has some restrictions, and it's basically very specific to be used in the very beginning of a run. So what it does is it advances some things in the hamlet, but it doesn't advance the weak. So the stagecoach will not be rerolled, the quests won't be rerolled, as well as quest rewards. But you have the benefit of it will unlock you the buildings in the hamlet, and it will also unlock the other zones after you've done Ruins 1. So usually, so how it works is you take one guy and send it to the first Ruins mission that you get after doing the old road. So, and yeah, the way it works is the game will, on the loading screen, will wait until all the spoken dialogue of the narrator is finished. So when we go to the darkest dungeon, there is always a dialogue that lasts for about 30 seconds. And since in some of the runs, namely like individual boss categories, we actually don't, like, we want to skip as much dialogue as possible, or like, you know, to shorten our times. If we don't really need to re-roll the stagecoach, you can do a time travel to like activate the buildings and then go into Ruins 1. It's very specific, so it's mainly used in single boss categories, where you will often do like one time travel and after that one Scardycat in the beginning. So you get one batch of new recruits as well as unlocking all the buildings. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. Okay, the next one is the so-called Scardyboost. For how does it work? It basically works exactly the same way as the Scardycat skip. So you send a guy to the darkest dungeon and retreat immediately. This time around though, you have to do it with a character that is level 5 or above. Let me showcase this really quick. So if you send a guy to the darkest dungeon with level 5 or 6, when you retreat and come back to the hamlet, every other hero in the roster except the one you did the Scardyboost with gets one stack of experience buff, which will provide the heroes with twice as much experience on the next quest they finish. This buff is only cleared if the hero does a mission, or like, yeah, even if the mission fails, if you have to retreat, the buff will also be gone. So you can see right here, failure in the darkest dungeon has only strengthened the resolve of those left behind, ×2 resolve XP bonus on the next quests. So the big thing with this is that this buff stacks. So you can over and over send a level 5 or 6 guy to the Darkest Dungeon and retreat. And every time you do it, one stack of this buff is going onto every hero in the roster. So it's important to note that it's not like a multiplicative bonus. So it's not like times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2. It's rather like it adds another instance of the quest reward experience to the quest rewards. So, for example, if you do a short apprentice mission, which we usually do, these yield 2 experience points for every hero in the party. So, with one Scardyboost stack, all the heroes will receive 4 experience. With 2 Scardyboost stacks, all heroes will receive 6 experience. With 4 stacks, 8 experience, and so on. So it's like an additive bonus and not multiplicatively. What is this useful for? Well, there are some categories, namely roster percent, where we level up a hero of every class to level 6. So you can easily like push your whole roster basically to level 6 with one dungeon. So for example, like a level 0 guy on darkest difficulty needs 48 experience to reach level 6. So if we do the math for 48 experience, we divide that by 2, since a short apprentice mission yields 2 experience and we want to do it as fast as possible. So we would need like 24 Scardyboost stacks on a fresh level 0 character to immediately level up from level 0 to level 6 in one short apprentice mission. So that's how that works. Yeah, mainly it is used in the roster percent run. It's sometimes used for any percent, not with DLC, but normal any percent when we lose a character and have to re-level a character. So yeah, important to note that, as I said earlier, the character you are doing the Scardyboost with does not get the benefit of the stacks. So keep that in mind when you do the Scardyboosts. Next up is the Scardywarp. What does it do? It basically allows us to bring any hero to any dungeon, at least any dungeon, any quest we can see on our embark map, while circumventing any restrictions that might apply to this hero for this quest. So let's say, for example, we have here a save file with all the DLCs enabled. So I can show you all the neat little stuff you can do with the Scardywarp. So how does it work? First of all, let's say we want to bring our level 6 guys to the Cove apprentice mission. So what you do is you assemble your roster, your party, and well, in this case, because these guys are shard mercenaries, I have to first select the farmstead, but in like the normal case, you would select the Darkest Dungeon as the destination. When you then hit the provision button, you quickly click on the mission you actually want the heroes to go to, while the screen is transitioning to the provision screen. So we want to go to the Cove. Well, I was too slow. So we want to go to the Cove. There we go. You can always see up here if you got it, also there is a sound cue. So basically now we can embark and send these level 6 shard mercenaries that would normally only go to the farmstead into an apprentice cove. And there we go. So that's the basic idea. It's basically fast clicking while the screen is transitioning. So applications for this, very, very many. So this is like probably the second most used trick of all. So one example that I already showed you is bringing higher level heroes into low level missions, which is usually not possible, not even on Radiant, to bring level 6 guys to apprentice missions. What it also does is you can enter the courtyard without having an invitation. So let's try that with like level 4 guys. So it will say, oh, you do not possess any invitations. So what we do is we pretend to send them to the darkest dungeon first. But we then select the courtyard and just send them there without any bigger problems. It's also used for in any percent with DLC we can use, or we use shard mercenaries from the Colors of Madness DLC to go to the darkest dungeon, which would normally also not be possible. What else? You can send people that have already been to the darkest dungeon, which you can see here, and have completed a mission there, again to the darkest dungeon. So yeah, you're basically circumventing any restrictions the game might throw at you in regards to if a hero can enter a mission or not. So all you gotta do is select, in most cases, the darkest dungeon, hit provision. You can disable this window of showing up. I prefer to have it show up, so I have my mouse cursor in the middle of the screen, or like starting in the middle of the screen if I depends on where I want to go. So let's say we want to send these guys to whatever, the farmstead. There we go. It's usually a little bit easier, especially in the beginning, to have this window pop up, so your mouse cursor starts in the middle of the screen, so you're quicker where you want to be in comparison to if this screen does not come up. Yeah, also to note, this trick does only work with the PC version and the Switch version of the game, because the Switch has also a touch screen, which essentially is like using a mouse, air quotes, but for the functionality it's the same. So on the Switch you can do it, and on PC you can do it. Sadly, you cannot do it on the PS4 version of the game, or while only using a controller. And last but not least, what runs is this used in? Basically all the longer runs, like all tier 2 bosses, any percent, Baron, Miller, whatever, or everything that is like a longer category and not like just one single boss. We usually don't need it for that. But for like all the tier 2 bosses, if we do it with only one party, which we usually do, these guys will be like level 3 or even higher by the time you come around to do the tier 2 boss. So we need it there as well. So yeah, this is really a neat trick. Highly recommend using it. And it's not that hard to execute. The Virtue Scam is a trick where we re-roll the resolve check of a character to prevent him from getting afflicted and give him a virtue instead, which we actually want. So how does it work? During combat, if one character hits 100 stress and the resolve check happens, during the animation we exit to the main menu, and when we load back in, the attack will happen again and the resolve check will be rolled again. It's important to exit to the menu after the attack is made and before the whole animation finishes. So we got afflicted again. Let's try for a third time. You can see, oh nice, we got it. You can see on the tint of the light in the background if it's actually a virtue or an affliction. So if you go 5 seconds or 10 seconds back in the video and you look at the light color, you will see it's kind of a golden light shade. That's if the character gets virtues, and if it's kind of a red light, you can go even further back in the video and you will see it. You know it's an affliction, so you can even exit to the main menu before the whole animation plays out, basically. Like immediately after you say the light changing, you can exit to the main menu. All right. Okay, the next trick I want to show off is the so-called Talisman Dupe, which is a way to duplicate one it's a very specific trick for a very specific quest in the game. So it's for the second darkest dungeon, because after you finish the first one, you are provided with, well, I got already 4 here, but usually you are provided with 3 Talisman of the Flame, which reduce the stress and damage taken of one ability of, well, the main boss enemies in the second darkest dungeon by a lot. And usually you only get 3, so the idea is to have one character in your party that guards the one character who does not have the Talisman of the Flame. But since we, in any percent, we run the whole thing with one party, and there is no space for someone with guard, really, we found out by accident that we can actually duplicate the Talismans of the Flame. So how does it work? You basically just take 2 whatever guys and equip both with 1 Talisman of the Flame and send them in. What happens next is we will retreat immediately again, and this will kill off one of the 2 guys we sent in, because the darkest dungeon kills off one of your party members if you retreat from it. This only applies, though, if you enter the dungeon with more than 1 hero. So if you have at least 2 heroes entering, there will, if you retreat or fail the mission, well, if you fail the mission, everybody is dead. But if you retreat, every time 1 guy will be killed off randomly. So what? Okay, so the Houndmaster died. So what this does is the talismans are programmed in a way that the game will always make sure you get those back. Even if you like party wipe in Darkest Dungeon 2, you will always get your Talismans of the Flame back, regardless of whatever. So when we send 2 people in and 1 dies, since we cannot recover their Talisman of the Flame because they died through the retreat event, the game for some reason gives us one extra Talisman of the Flame back. So we basically get the one back that the Houndmaster had already in his inventory, and the game says, hey, somebody died, you couldn't retrieve it, here is one extra. So that's why we got a fourth one, which is, as I said, only used to beat Darkest Dungeon 2, and that's about it. You could, in theory, probably do it with other trinkets as well. There's other trinkets that are essentially coded like the Talisman of the Flame. I will not go over them since we won't use them in any speedruns really. Next trick we're gonna show off is the so-called controller skip. So what does it do? It allows us to travel with our party while in a dungeon into any direction from a room, even while a scouting animation is going on. So what you need for this, you need a plugged-in controller. In my case, it's an Xbox One controller, or like plugged in, but connected to your PC. And what you then do is you, if you are in a room with your party, you just use the right analog stick and push it in the direction you want your party to go. So, for example, we want to go down, and you then can continue, or you want to go left. So, I think you get the idea. That's pretty much about it. I hope I didn't miss any very important stuff. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope everything is understandable. And yeah, check out my runs on YouTube, check out my stream on Twitch, follow me on Twitter or wherever. And yeah, see you guys next time.